Heather Stevenson, Mayor Pressing,
Here.
Will Kiles, Michael Ledoux, Kyle Harrison, Marcy Dodds, David Johnson, Thomas Bruno, Deborah Frank Finan, Karen Foster,
Here.
Mayor Swihart, John Jay, Lawrence Sapp,
Here.
Chris Donetz, or Donetz, or Donitz? Okay. Stan James, Ron Benzel, Jonathan Schroeder, Alan Nudo, Brad Jones, Lloyd Carter, Lorraine Cowart, Carol Ammons, Matthew Gladney, Michael Richards, Geraldo Rosales, Janet Anderson, Alan Kurtz, Pius Weibel, Tom Betts, Ralph Langenheim, Samuel Smucker, Steve Beckett, Brendan McGinty, Barbara Wysocki.
I see Charlie Smythe is here too, Phyllis, from Urbana. Okay, thank you very much. We're going to consider a number of questions here. We've got a good panel to give you different viewpoints, but I think we should consider this to just be the beginning of the discussion. Just to sum it up, this law was passed to try to fund the state's capital program. But the question is this the best way to do it? I talked to Ralph Martiri today from the Center for Tax and Budget Accountability, and his take on it was that for every $1 raised in taxes from gambling, a gambler has to lose $7 to $8. So we'll start out with Mike Munson, who's the Chief of Staff in Urbana, and he's going to report on his interview with the administrator of the Illinois State Gaming Board.
Hi. In preparation for this event, we asked the Illinois Gaming Board if they could send a representative to answer questions about video gambling. They said they couldn't. They're stretched pretty thin, but the Gaming Board's administrator, Mark Ostrowski, was gracious in agreeing to answer a number of questions in a telephone interview. Before I get to that interview, though, it's probably a good idea to review some basic facts about video gambling. Governor Patrick Quinn signed the Video Gaming Act on July 13th after it passed the Illinois General Assembly as a way to help fund the state's $31 billion capital bill. The state will collect 25% tax on net income from video gaming. Local cities or in unincorporated areas, counties will get 5% of net income as a tax. Predictions are that each video gaming terminal will generate about $2,250 per year in tax revenue for local governments. Establishments can have up to 5 terminals each, meaning a city or county could collect as much as $11,000 annually from a single establishment that has video gambling. The law allows all bars or restaurants that serve alcohol to have video gambling, as well as fraternal or veterans clubs and licensed truck stops. Video terminals must be located in an area restricted to persons aged 21 or older. City councils and county boards can pass an ordinance prohibiting video gaming within their corporate limits, which is why we're here to help decide if we want to do that. According to Ostrowski, so far 39 cities and counties have elected to opt out of video gambling. Most of those are north of Interstate 80 in northern Illinois. Carbondale is the only major downstate city to opt out thus far. Currently, there's no deadline for opting out, though a March 1 deadline was proposed in a bill that failed during the fall veto session. Ostrowski said he thinks a joint study session like this is a good idea and that they're going on across the state. He did warn local bar owners to make no admissions regarding cash payouts for video poker. He said his employees are sworn officers and would have to pursue such admissions. He also said he's well aware that most bars do pay out. Ostrowski said he believes state-authorized video gambling should be ready to go online in about a year. He said the Illinois legislature approved $2.5 million in the fall veto session to help the Illinois Gaming Board begin hiring the staff it will need. Once video gaming is implemented, Illinois will become the largest gaming jurisdiction in the country, Ostrowski said. Other states that have legalized video gambling include Louisiana, Oregon, South Dakota, Montana, and I've heard Nevada and West Virginia, although I'm not sure on those two. He said the Illinois Gaming Board is now preparing to issue a request for proposals to purchase and install a centralized communication system where all the video gaming terminals would be linked to a state-run data center. That's going to take, he said, 4 to 8 months to complete, after which the board is going to begin reviewing license applications. He warned that background checks will be extensive and that they're going to know the answers to the questions ahead of time. He did say the gaming board is concerned about possible mob influence in video gaming, and he mentioned, possibly requesting protection money or something like that. He said video terminals are going to be expensive. They're going to cost about $25,000 each, and that the gaming board is also seriously considering requiring establishments to also have a kiosk, which will cost about $50,000, where video gaming winners could submit a voucher and receive their payout, so bartenders don't have to make the payouts. He said terminal operators will own, service, and maintain the terminals and split the net income 50-50 with the bar, restaurant, club, or truck stop, with each getting 35% of the net income after payouts. He said the demand for terminals may be so great that establishment owners or bar owners might be asked to contribute toward the cost of purchasing the terminals. He also said the gaming board currently has about 150 employees, and he expects that workforce to double. As part of my research into video gambling, I also interviewed the owners and managers of most of Urbana's bars and veterans clubs. I might add, I only ran into one city employee at a bar. It was lunch hour and he wasn't drinking. So. My research showed that video gambling is already well established at most Urbana bars. I visited and called 10 bars and clubs, and all but 2 had video poker terminals. In all, I counted 63 poker machines. The bar owners and managers were very open with me. One told me that he cleared $50,000 last year from video poker. Others said they don't earn that much, but that it helps them pay the bills, and that to lose this source of income on top of the loss in customer traffic that the statewide smoking ban caused would be a serious blow to bar owners. Veterans clubs like the American Legion, the VFW, could be hurt the most by the new video poker law. In Urbana, American Legion Post number 71 in downtown Urbana has 13 video poker machines, and the VFW Post 630 has 12. Bruce Brown, the manager of the American Legion, who's sitting next to me here, said the Post owns 5 of those machines outright and currently makes 100% profit from those. 8 of the machines, he said, are owned by an amusement company, and they split the net income 60-40. With the new state law, the Legion would be limited to 5 machines and could only get 35% of the net income. And he told me, and when I interviewed him, that he is concerned about keeping the Legion's doors open if its income drops precipitously. Bob Moff, the quartermaster at the VFW, said the income from the poker machines helps fund the VFW's donations to the VA hospital in Danville, veterans groups, and other charities. Bruce said that as well. Some of the bar owners I talked to said they're looking forward to state-sanctioned video poker, and most of them said they expect to offer it. I talked to Steve Lechik, he's the owner of the Rumors Bar at 5 Points in Urbana. He said he thinks more people will play video poker once it's officially legal, and that his income will increase, even though he currently has 7 machines. That was a sentiment I heard expressed more than once. I also talked with State Representative Lou Lang, a Skokie Democrat who is the House sponsor of the video gaming bill. Lang said he believes his legislation isn't creating new gambling, that it's, quote, going from illegal gambling to legal gambling. He said if you don't legalize these machines, they will still be there. Long predicted that actually the number of video poker machines in Illinois will decline from the current 60,000 to about 40,000 once the new law is implemented. That's it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Next, we have Professor John Kindt from the University of Illinois.
Well, are we up and running here?
Yeah, I think it is.
Are we good? No? The other one wasn't plugged in. Thank you, Mayor. A lot of us professors aren't plugged in either. Well, the first thing I'd want to start with is what our former U.S. Senator, Paul Simon, sponsored back in the 1990s. There was a lot of misinformation involving gambling, and so he sponsored the National Gambling Impact Study Commission, which was a 5-year report. It was the official federal report on gambling and on its positives as well as its negatives. It had 9 members on it. 4 of those were definitely industry members. 2 of those were considered anti-gambling. 3 were considered neutral. When the 3 neutral heard all the evidence, they flopped into the anti-gambling camp. So I think that on a valid cost-benefit basis, on a social benefit basis, if you do the math, you'll decide, as the neutral people did, that the costs far outweigh the benefits. I'd like to ask if there are any board or county board members, city members here that don't have a copy of this packet. I have a couple of tall gentlemen here who will give you a copy of these materials. So if you would raise your hand while I'm giving the general background information. I'm sorry we don't have enough copies for everybody, so we'll get them to our officials first and then pass out the others as far as they go. But back to the National Gambling Impact Study Commission. It called for a moratorium on the expansion of any type of gambling anywhere in the United States, and it said that this video gambling in local communities is the very worst type of gambling. They called it the crack cocaine of creating new addicted gamblers. They compared it to drug addiction. It was so potent at creating new addicted gamblers. They also talked about what we call the ABCs of gambling, which are new addicted gamblers, increasing 100% around these gambling facilities. The B stands for new bankruptcies, increasing 18 to 42% as people lose their money around gambling facilities. And the C stands for new crime, as people lose their funds and then resort to crime to try to recoup their losses. And we have definitive reports that indicate that around concentrated video gambling machine areas, that crime will increase 10% per year. And that's a definitive report published by Harvard and MIT. I would then refer you, hopefully everybody has, or most people can share or have a copy of this. These are just some materials which have come through the office. And the first one is simply an editorial from the Chicago Tribune. I have never seen an editorial from the Chicago Tribune that says to repeal a law. I'm sure they've had some, but this is headlines. It says repeal video gambling. If you look at the next page, there's another article here, which is an editorial from the Chicago Tribune that basically editorializes against the video gambling before Governor Quinn signed the bill, and it says, did Quinn forget? The governor used to think citizens should get a vote on gambling. The next one in this packet simply is a headline from the Tribune again. WGN poll says 58% of the public are against this video gambling. And I found it interesting to hear my colleague here indicating that, I believe he said 39 municipalities or communities had already banned this, and I'm not quite sure how many have accepted it. I think just a couple. And so they've obviously done their homework. I think it's notable that DuPage County voted unanimously to keep these machines out. And I think it's notable that even Cook County voted 10-4 to keep these machines out, to ban these machines. So I think when Cook County adopts the high ethical standards and bans video gambling, the Springfield legislation must be extremely poor. Another article here is from the Daily Herald, and the titles say it all. State video gaming chief says, quote, almost impossible, quote, to keep the mob out. So these are not just isolated news articles, they're authoritative news articles, and they simply reconfirm what we already know from the National Gambling Impact Study Commission. Now, some people will argue that it was completed in 1999, but we have a new report out called the United States International Gambling Report, which is 3 volumes, 3,000 pages, published just this year, and it indicates that things are getting even worse as gambling is spreading across the country. And so we have the United States International Gambling Report with substantial influence and contributions by members of our faculty here at the University of Illinois and across the nation. I just came back from a national conference, and there is an extreme concern that governments are not listening to the National Gambling Impact Study Commission, to the United States International Gambling Report, and I would summarize and reiterate again that the Paul Simon Report, the Federal National Gambling Impact Study Commission says, do not legalize these machines, recommendation 3.4, and where they are legalized, recriminalize them. Now you have to read through the language a bit, but that's basically what it says. And it also calls, in summary, not to expand gambling of any type anywhere in the United States because of all these social negatives. The social costs of the new addicted gamblers, like drug addiction, the new bankruptcies, and the new crime are at least $3, $4, $5 for every $1 in projected benefits. So from a cost-benefit basis, it fails. From a good government basis, it fails. From a good social basis, it fails. And the sociological, psychological, and psychiatric communities are concerned that this video gambling, the crack cocaine of creating new addicted gamblers, is now showing double the addiction rate among students. It is particularly potent among students as distinguished from the older generation. And so we're seeing 100, 200% increases in the number of young people who are showing this addicted gambling. By putting these machines in the middle of a student population, this is just the very worst type of gambling in the most vulnerable type of population base. And the projected problems are going to be quite large.
Okay, thank you, Professor Kindt. Our next speaker is Anita Bedell from the Illinois Church Action on Alcohol Problems.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I just would like to confirm what Professor Kindt said about the concern for students. Just yesterday, there was an article out of Michigan State, and they were talking about gambling, and they said gambling is the fastest rising healthcare issue on campus. Among male students, it's up to 22% admitting the problem, and a lot of students will not admit it, so that's very high of those who do. We've been very concerned about gambling and about the addiction problem. There are already in Illinois almost 7,000 people who are self-excluded for the casinos. And these are people who have admitted that their gambling is so out of control that they cannot even go to a casino. If they are asking that they have to sign papers saying that they can be arrested for trespassing and all their winnings can be confiscated. So it's very much of a concern. We spoke with a city council member from Northern Illinois who was on this list, and one of his problems is that there is no way to keep people from the self-exclusion list out of all of these bars or restaurants or bowling alleys, wherever they're going to be. There's no way you can monitor that or keep them from gambling statewide. He was explaining about the problem of these machines. And he said that you can go to a website, www.videopoker.com. And if you go to that website, you can play for free. And he was telling us all that you can go high, you can go low. He was getting so animated and so excited. He says, you can tell by just how I'm talking to you that it would be a problem for me. And when you're talking about the speed of addiction, he said he could place a bet every second. So each second he could place a bet. I know some of the things that we've been hearing in the newspapers is that it doesn't matter with these video gambling machines. It's not going to addict people. It's just such a low amount of money. It's not going to make any difference. Well, during the veto session, which ended a couple weeks ago, during the last 2 days of that session, they tried to push through 4 gambling bills. One of them was to cut off the date that counties and municipalities could ban the machine. They wanted it to be March 1st, 2010. They didn't have enough support from the legislature, so they didn't push that through. The second one that they had was to lower the amounts that people could bet to a penny. Right now, the legislation is that you could bet a nickel, a dime, or a quarter, but they wanted to allow penny bets. Penny bets. Why? Because the casinos have lowered their betting on the machines to a penny. They have penny and they have 2 penny machines, and those bets on 1 penny or 2 penny last month netted a revenue of $43 million. A penny bet doesn't sound like much, but $43 million a month from the penny machines. 71% of the revenue that comes from these machines at the casinos comes from penny, 2 penny, nickel, dime, and quarter machines. 71% are these low bets. So it's something that we're very concerned about. Another thing that they did during the legislature is they set the hours for video gambling. Right now, at liquor establishments, you have to follow the liquor law, but there was no such law for the truck stops where they said these machines would be. And so they want continuous gambling at truck stops. So you would have 24-hour gambling 7 days a week. The Illinois Gaming Board on 3 different occasions ruled that the casinos could not have 24-hour gambling. Illinois does not want to be the Las Vegas of the Midwest. In Las Vegas, when they have 24-hour gambling, people will gamble 36, 72 hours without stopping. We have a concern about people with alcohol and gambling. Alcohol impairs your judgment from the first drink. And so we're very concerned that people will start to gamble while they're drinking. And they've done studies that once people start gambling when they're drinking, they will gamble till all of their money is gone. So this is a concern. They've also done a study from the University of Buffalo finding out that people who have problems with alcohol are 23 times more likely to become addicted to gambling. So putting the 2 together with the alcohol in the bars and the restaurants and other places is a concern. They've also done a study in Canada, and they found out that 60% of the revenue from their video poker machines comes from compulsive gambling, 60%. So once people start playing these machines, there's nothing in the law or the rules that say that they have to be cut off. A bartender has to cut off someone who is drunk, but there's nothing in the rules or in the law that says you have to cut off anyone who is gambling too much. They had an instance of a woman in New York. She put $300 in the machines to gamble. Within 5 minutes, all she had left was $20. So the speed of this is very fast, and people can lose their money very quickly and become addicted very quickly. I have folders for the city council members and the county board members, and in there's a chart out of Rhode Island from a study, and what they did, they compared the rate of gambling addiction for various forms of gambling. And what they found out is that the speed of gambling from video gambling was very quick, that you could become addicted within 1 year. And while it would take, I think, five years for horse racing and maybe 3 years for casino gambling, so it's very quick. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is the Capitol construction project, because there have been rumors that if you ban video gambling, that you cannot have the construction projects. Well, there's a new publication from the state of Illinois called Wagering in Illinois, and they have a section on video gambling, and it reads, while video gaming is anticipated to be one of the major revenue sources for the Capital Projects Fund, it should be noted there is no provision restricting local governments from receiving projects from the Capital Funds project, even if that government body bans video gaming in their area. There was also on the Chicago Crane's business website today that they've come up with an alternative plan for the Capitol construction plan so that the projects will not be in jeopardy if communities ban the video gambling. Another thing that they said was that that the legislature was trying to fix the video poker. They've already had, I think, 5 or 6 cleanup bills for the video gambling. When they passed this legislation, they did it very quickly. I know people have said that this has been around for a long time, and it has, but it has never had the support to pass in the legislature. In 2001, they had a Senate Executive Committee meeting, and they decided to have a study panel on video gambling. And they sent letters to every county board, to every municipality, and they did a survey asking if there was support to have video gambling in the communities. And statewide, only 7.4% of local governments responded favorably to regulating and taxing this form of government. 7.4%. This time, they didn't even ask the municipal leaders or the county board members if they wanted it. They passed it very quickly, within a little over 24 hours. It was introduced and passed in both the Senate and the House. There was no time to even have a fiscal note on the bill to find out the impact of this type of legislation. One of the things that they wanted to do was also to penalize people who pass the ban after the gaming board has the rules and regulations in place and once the law starts. They had a law saying that if a community would ban it, or a municipality would ban it, or even if the public passed a referendum saying that they wanted to ban the machines, you would have to still keep the machines in operation for 2 more years so that the people could recover the cost for their machines. This is a slap in the face for the public who, you know, if you pass a referendum, it's because there are a lot of problems that you want the machine stopped. But they had the audacity to say that even if you go through all the trouble and you pass all this with the support of the public, you have to wait 2 more years before the machines could be shut down. I've talked to, just one more thing, I've talked to people who've been addicted to these video poker machines. One man was a financial officer of a clinic, and he embezzled $600,000. The clinic closed, all the employees were out of a job, and he spent 11 years in prison. So it's something that can happen to anyone. It's very tempting, and it's not something that you want to welcome into your community.
Okay, thank you very much, Anita. Our next speaker is Bruce Brown from the American Legion Post 71.
Thank you. First of all, I want to clear up the misconception that I'm against legalized video poker, as was stated in the News Gazette. My concern is that our business income will be greatly